Cat Tales 48. I am not a religious person in the conventional sense. Nor have I been a particularly spiritual one. Yet, I realize that when you most need them, miracles do happen. Furthermore, they come in the form that means the most to you. In my case, on little Cat's feet. It began 20 years ago when a coworker brought me a 5-week-old kitten she had rescued. Although I had wanted a kitten to keep Tiger, my 1-year-old cat, company, I hadn't envisioned a scrawny, flea-covered bag of bones. Against my better judgment, I took her home. Several flea baths later, she appeared marginally more presentable. While I had my doubts about her, Sammy quickly decided I made an acceptable mother and attached herself to me. No matter where I went, there she'd be. If I ventured out of her sight, she'd cry. Only cuddling her in my arms calmed her down. I was holding her the day my mom called to tell me grandfather had died. He was the only grandfather I had known, and as a child, I had secretly believed I was his favorite. For days after the funeral, I would burst into tears whenever anyone spoke to me. I wanted to lose myself in sleep, but I had a kitten who demanded attention. As I comforted her, I began to be comforted myself. As I told her everything would be all right, I started to believe it. As I told her how much I loved her, I realized I was also loved. My grandfather's death didn't erase his love. As long as I had his memories, he was with me. Sammy remained my constant companion for 16 years. Although I still had Tiger and had added a third cat, Thomas, to the household, Sammy held first place in my heart, maybe because she was linked to my grandfather or because she needed me so much. Heartbroken, I vowed never to get another cat. Tiger and Thomas would be enough now. 2 weeks later, on a run to the pet store for food, a bundle of fur caught my eye. Within minutes, a small, tortoiseshell tabby kitten nestled in my arms, but I reminded myself I didn't want or need a kitty. Before I could hand her back, a sick cat in a nearby cage distracted the clerk. She whisked the cat out of the room, leaving me alone with the wriggling fur ball in my arms. For the next 20 minutes, the kitten stared into my eyes, grabbed my hair, and did everything except shout, "Take me home, we need each other." I refused to listen. When the clerk returned, she tickled the kitten under the chin, saying, "Isn't she a cutie? She just arrived. Lucky you, you're the first person to hold her, and she obviously likes you. How do you want to pay?" Pay? I didn't want to pay. I wasn't going to pay. The next thing I knew, I had a receipt in one hand and a kitten in the other. Over the next few weeks, Miss Maggie made a place for herself in my home and in my heart. She didn't replace Sammy. Animals, like people, can't be replaced that easily. However, she showed me that even a broken heart has enough love in it to reach out to a kitten in need of love. By reaching out, a broken heart begins to heal itself, a lesson I'd learned once from Sammy but had forgotten. Looking over the adoption papers, I realized Miss Maggie had been brought to the Humane Society on July 1st, Sammy's birthday. Yet she hadn't been put up for adoption for 6 weeks, although the normal time period is much shorter. The delay in putting Miss Maggie up for adoption, my showing up at the pet store 2 hours after she had been brought in, and the persistent clerk all added up to one thing: Miss Maggie and I were meant for each other. It's happening again. 2 weeks ago, a male kitten wandered into the parking lot of a school where I substitute teach. The principal kept him in her office, but he needed a real home. She asked me to take him, but I refused, because I already had 3 cats. But a little voice inside said, "He's going to be yours." The next morning, I found out why. Tiger had suffered the feline equivalent of a stroke and lost almost all control of her right side. She could barely walk, eat, or drink and was getting progressively weaker. I knew what I had to do. The next day, with red and swollen eyes, I took her to the vet for the last time. In a few days, a small black and white kitten named Jonesy will come home from school with me. Not to take Tiger's place, but to carve out his own place, just as Sammy, Miss Maggie, and Thomas had done before, to show me that life and love go on even in the midst of heartbreak and death. Miracles do happen. All you have to do is open your eyes, your heart, and your door to them.